A third of every ice cream tub you've ever bought is completely empty. Not eaten. Not melted. Just air. And that air is what's holding everything together. Without it, you couldn't even get a spoon in. The food sitting in your freezer right now, it's mostly a carefully controlled illusion. Every frozen dessert you've ever loved is built on one hidden trick, a different one each time. You think you know frozen desserts. Ice cream, sorbet, maybe gelato, if you've been somewhere fancy. But there are 17 distinct frozen foods in the world. 17. And almost nobody can actually explain why even 2 of them are different. You've eaten them your whole life, and nobody ever told you what was happening inside that cup. That's not your fault. The food industry never handed out explanations. So here's what we're doing. We're going to walk through every major frozen dessert, from the one that's been around 1,000 years to the one invented in a laboratory. And by the end, you'll understand the 4 core variables the entire frozen dessert world runs on. Air, fat, crystal size, time. That's the whole game. That rotating metal dasher spinning through the mixture as it freezes, it's not just mixing. It's folding air in constantly, and that air makes up a full third of the final volume. That's what makes ice cream soft enough to scoop. The machine does all the heavy lifting. Now slow that machine way down, and you get gelato. Gelato traps far less air, so it's denser, heavier, and hits your tongue with an intense punch of flavor. It actually has less fat than ice cream, but with less air diluting the taste, it feels richer. Less air equals more of everything else. That's the whole trick. Skip the machine entirely, and you get semi-freddo. You fold whipped cream or beaten eggs in by hand, trapping air mechanically before it ever sees the freezer. It slices clean like a loaf and stays slightly warmer on the tongue because its airy structure acts as insulation. Now want to see what zero air looks like? That's kulfi. Milk is cooked down until it thickens, poured straight into a mold, and frozen solid, no churning whatsoever. It's dense, rich, and melts dramatically slower than anything else on this list. A street version on a stick holds its sharp edges perfectly while the summer air warms around it. That is what pure density looks like in practice. Pull all the dairy out completely and you get sorbet. No cream, no fat, just fruit, sugar, and water. This is the ancient foundation. The word traces back through Italian and French to an Arabic root. It was showing up in the Middle East long before it ever reached Europe. For centuries, it wasn't even dessert. It was a palate cleanser, served between heavy dinner courses. A bright, icy reset button. That's all it was. But add just a splash of milk back in, and you've got sherbet. The name comes from the exact same Arabic root, both descended from a chilled drink called sherbet. That one tiny addition of dairy changes everything about the texture. The American market drew a hard line between the two, which is why rainbow sherbet became its own category. Pastel orange, lime green, impossibly smooth. The difference is just fat content. That's it. Some frozen desserts never tried to be creamy at all. Granita goes back to Arab-ruled Sicily in the 9th century, when snow was carried down from Mount Etna and mixed with fruit and sugar. The whole point is the coarse, distinct ice crystals. You stir it by hand while it freezes, so those crystals grow deliberately. Then, in the 1950s, an American machine spun constantly to prevent those exact crystals from forming. That's a slushie, same base concept, completely opposite execution. A breakfast granita at a Sicilian cafe and a gas station Slurpee are technically cousins. Go further down the crystal size scale and you hit shaved ice, and don't confuse it with a snow cone. A snow cone has coarse crushed ice. The syrup runs straight to the bottom. Real shaved ice traces back 1,000 years to Japanese kakigori. The crystals are so fine that the syrup suspends throughout the entire mound. It becomes flavored snow. The modern ice pop was reportedly an accident. An 11-year-old left a sugary drink outside on a cold night with the stir stick still in it. He found it frozen in the morning. That's the story. Completely independently, Mexican paleteros were already making paletas handcrafted pops with fresh fruit and cream. They share a wooden stick and nothing else. Mochi ice cream wraps a ball of ice cream inside rice dough that has to stay chewy at sub-zero temperatures. Getting that texture right requires incredibly precise preparation, which is exactly why it costs more per piece. Baked Alaska puts ice cream into a screaming hot oven, and the ice cream doesn't melt. The meringue surrounding it is mostly air, making it a terrible conductor of heat, a perfect thermal blanket. And the affogato? Hot espresso poured directly over cold gelato. The gelato melts, the espresso cools. They meet somewhere in the middle in a perfect, bittersweet collision. Rolled ice cream doesn't exist before you order it, poured onto a frozen steel plate and scraped into rolls in under a minute. Dippin' Dots freeze in seconds. Liquid ice cream dropped into liquid nitrogen at minus 196 degrees Celsius.